Welcome. I'm Julie Bacon, and you're listening to the Mindset Coaching for Handlers podcast, a podcast for dog handlers who are on a mission to achieve big goals. Here I share lessons, insights, personal stories, and tools you can apply during your next show, trial, or test to help you strengthen your mental game and hopefully cue more consistently. Be sure to check out the show notes where you'll find details about the episodes, plus important links, including the link to the Dogged Planner and Workbook created just for handlers on a mission. So if you're ready to improve your competitive mindset, get out of your own way, and connect with your dog like never before, then it's time to get comfy, bring an open mind, and work your mindset. Hey there, and welcome back to the podcast. Okay, this episode comes from something I saw on social media and where I spend too much time. And the person was saying, like, what are you going to be obsessed with this month? And I just thought it was like such an interesting, first of all, well, obviously it was an interesting hook, but I thought it was such an interesting concept because she went on to talk about the fact of like, you know, get obsessed about like one thing. Like, are you going to like learn something? You know, she was not a dog person. So she had like, you know, human things like take up a hobby, you know, or like knit or something like that. Unlike us, you know, who have like more like dog specific obsessions. But the point that really landed with me is, you know, get focused in, like get just really like almost like maniacal, if that could be thought of in a good way, about like really honing in on something you really want or you really want to get good at or you really want to go after. And it reminded me of this other sort of like twist on the concept of a villain, right? And it's spooky month. We can go there. So just put on your spooky month hat, right? It's October when I'm recording. And it's this twist on villain. And this concept of when you think about a villain or a supervillain in whatever movie, you know, whatever movie that comes to mind, or it could be like a comic, but it doesn't have to be a comic. There are villains in all kinds of stories. The thing that villains have that is a good thing, okay? Villains have this like one-track mind. Right? They're obsessed with their goal. Nothing will stop me. You know, they are just obsessed with this one thing. And yeah, sure, it may be like ending the world or something dramatic like that, which I'm not trying to get you to go for. But this concept of like, they're letting nothing stop them. Right? Nothing will stop them. They are obsessed. They are singularly focused. They are determined. They are not taking no for an answer. They are just like determined, right? They are doggedly determined. And of course, dogged because the Dogged 2026 planner is out. Go get it. But they are doggedly determined to get what they want. Okay? So I'm going with it. I'm leaning in. I think this is a great idea for us because so often we are trying to be good at 12 things. Or, you know, I mean, I have 3 dogs, right? So 3 dogs, they're all in multiple sports. You know, I'm going to scent work training, agility training, obedience training, you know, draft training at home. You know, I'm learning tracking, you know, I mean, like all of these things, right? And so we tend to scatter ourselves. And by doing so, we get a little better at a lot of things instead of getting a lot better at 1 or 2 things. So I'm not talking about, you know, like unhealthy tunnel vision or perfectionism. You know better. You've heard me on this podcast. You know I'm not talking about perfectionism. I'm talking about more of a healthy obsession, right? And let's define that as like a healthy obsession equals focus plus repetition, right? Because you're going to do this over and over again, plus curiosity. There's not enough curiosity in the world. Like curiosity of like what your dog's telling you, of what you might want to focus on, of like what interests you. There's another kind of trend going around on social media of like being like picking up a new skill every month, right? To me, that's like embodiment of curiosity. Like what can you get curious about and like go ahead, follow, jump down the rabbit hole, see where that goes and see what it is that you can build out of it. Right? And a healthy obsession it's like the energy that takes something from good enough to like, wow, or I am mastering that, or it's not that I practice it until I do it right. It's that I practice it until I can't get it wrong. You know, that adage. It's a famous quote by someone. You'll tell me who it is, but it's become an adage because it is so true and so widely used. And, you know, we've been talking a lot about confidence, but confidence thrives in repetition. And obsession, being obsessed with something, gives you those reps, right? Because if you're singularly focused on something or mastering something or getting better or just being like, you know what, I'm sick of this. I'm honing in on my mindset or this skill or that skill, or maybe even one dog in my house this month because I really want to finish something up. Okay. And so I'm kind of arguing, and yes, take it in the spooky season vein that it is intended, but I am arguing that we need a little more villain energy, okay? Because the best villains have clarity. They have clarity of purpose. They have clarity of direction. They have clarity of goals. They know exactly what they want, and they don't apologize for their focus. They don't explain it to anybody. They don't defend it. They don't say, no, well, I'm doing this because they don't minimize themselves. They don't shrink to fit into other people's worlds. They take up space, and they shout loudly from the rooftops, sometimes literally, about their plans. So we want to borrow a little bit of that energy, and all of us could use a little bit of old chutzpah, as it's known, to really delve into something kind of obsessively this month, right? We want to borrow that single-minded determination when we're going after something, okay? So my question to you is, what would it look like if you went full villain about your next goal? Right? If literally nothing could stop you, what would that look like? How would you organize your life? Would you eat differently? Would you exercise differently? Would you prioritize different trials? Would you prioritize different trainings or classes or seminars? Or, would you hire some private lessons? Would you, try to do video lessons with a coach you've always wanted to work with? What would you do if you were going to go full on single-minded determination on your next goal? And it kind of begs the question, how much of that are you doing, or is your focus really split? And I think this is something a lot of us, I know I struggle with, because multiple dogs, multiple sports, multiple goals. I got goals here, goals there, da-da-da-da-da. But I will tell you that there was, this year I was trying to finish up a goal with one of my dogs. And I was like, no, I'm only working on that. I'm only working on that with that dog for this month. The other dogs, they're fine. They can hang on a minute. I'll be right back. But I got to go do this. And I know that I got to it faster than if I would have fit it in. So sometimes we have to make those hard choices, and sometimes we have to prioritize our calendar based on what is most important. It can't all be the same level of importance, okay? And I think too often we're just on that autopilot and we're just going to the next trial because it's, it's the third week of, the 10th month, and so I must be in Poughkeepsie, kind of a thing. So we got to get off of autopilot and, of course, skip the laughter, evil laughter, and destruction part of it. But let's get obsessive, right? About this mindset. What do we really want to get obsessive about? Okay. So we'll pick that up right when we come back. If you love this podcast, you'll love the Q membership. Each month, we tackle topics like ring nerves, confidence, and mental toughness, breaking them down into bite-sized, actionable lessons. You'll also get a private Facebook group for support and access to all of my online courses. It's like having a mindset coach in your pocket. Ready to get started? Join us. The link is in the show notes, or head to theqcoach.com. Back to the episode. So the first step, obviously, is to choose your obsession. Right? So how do you choose? Well, I can't tell you that. I can give you only some parameters. I can tell you what I've done in the past. sometimes the obsession comes from time. Time is something that I think we're all really aware of as dog owners, dog handlers, because our time with our dogs is not the same as our time with other humans. Okay. And, as someone who has a non-traditional breed who lives a non-traditionally not long enough time, I know that sometimes my obsessions, come from the fact of like, I'm running out of time. Like I got to get serious or I got to let it go, one or the other. So time can help us bring clarity, but sometimes it's also like a moment, a flash of jealousy, like someone else gets a title or something that they want, or you watch someone else in the ring and they have a skill that you would like die to have. They're so smooth, they make their cues so like elegantly, and you just really want to, be that way. And that moment of like desire, sort of helps you uncover maybe your next obsession. Okay. So you got to choose. And that's the point, right? Villains, just to keep playing with that, villains are not trying to get good at 7 things. Like villains are not trying to both conquer the world and get really good at knitting, like they don't have hobbies even. They're just all in. So that means that you're going to have to make some hard decisions for a time. Okay. This doesn't have to be forever, right? We're not doing the evil laughter and the destruction and all of that and devoting our whole lives to it, but maybe the next 6 weeks or maybe from here till the end of the year. So maybe there's something that you can hone in on, if you are one of the lucky ones who are going to Orlando in December, for one of the many, events that are taking place that week at that sort of championship / invitational week, then maybe your obsession is going to be in preparedness for that event. Okay. That could be good. You could get smoother on courses. You could stay calm in the ring. You could work on your mindset. You could sharpen a single skill with a dog. You could finish a title that you've sort of been like, kind of like chipping away at. Okay. You could practice your self-talk, like whatever it is. It can be outside of dogs, of course, like fitness, watching what you eat, whatever. I was in this fitness challenge for 12 weeks. It was fantastic because it was focused and there was accountability, whatever. So what's most important is the specificity of what you choose, because the more focused the obsession, the faster you're going to see the growth, right? The faster you're going to see the results. And whatever you're choosing, make sure that it is measurable. To get better at something, okay, what is better? What is better? How are you going to measure better? Because maybe that is meaningful to you and you know how you're going to measure it. Great. So long as you know how you're going to measure it. So long as you know that in the next month or 6 weeks or 90 days or whatever time period you choose, you will be able to say like, I started here, I ended there. Okay. Because if you can't see it when you look back, then you won't think you made any progress, and then you think you'll have wasted your time, and that's like a sad slippery slope that we don't need to go down. Okay. And I want to really put a fine point on this. Bold, italics, big letters, all caps. Obsession does not mean 24/7 intensity. It might not even mean intensity at all. It just means consistency. That consistent focus on something for a time period. Okay. It doesn't mean intense. Like if you choose like eating better, it doesn't mean you get 3 carrots a day, right? It doesn't have to be some crazy diet, some crazy thing, some crazy, off the handle thing, or you're running door to door telling everybody about it. It doesn't mean intensity. It means consistency. Because again, if you're embracing your villain persona, they are very consistently focused on one thing, and then they take action based on that. Doesn't mean it's 3 a.m, but when they're working on it, they're working on it. And they're working on it fully and focused and without distraction. Okay? So, of course, I'm going to tell you to track it and write it down, because again, you got to know where you're starting. You got to know what your goals are. You got to know like how you're going to get there. and to sit down, whether it's Mondays or Sunday nights or who cares, Wednesday, whatever you do, whenever you do your planning for the week, look at your week and say, okay, if this is the one thing I'm obsessed about, and it doesn't mean everything else falls away, by the way, but it just means that you are giving more focus to that one thing. Okay. It's not like you're going to stop feeding your other dogs. You know what I mean? Like, don't be dramatic. Like, I know we're playing with the villain thing, but like, you know, you are going to get the rest of your life done. The rest of the world is still going to keep spinning. But when you are being obsessive about a goal, then you need to look at your week ahead and be like, okay, how am I working toward this every day? Like, what little thing am I doing? How is this helping? Is what I'm doing right now helping me achieve this goal? Okay. Write it down, make a plan, check in every week. Like, that's how this obsession is going to turn into mastery. And remember, and we've been talking about this a lot, but confidence is going to grow when you see proof. And tracking is going to give you the proof, the evidence. Okay. And by the way, it's also going to give you a lovely hit of dopamine. Okay. Because when we see the progress, that's how the motivation, which is that slippery emotion that comes and goes, but that's where the motivation is going to sustain, right? We get that little hit of dopamine. We see the progress. We're like, ooh, I'm making progress. Ooh, this was fun. I'm making progress. That makes me want to work even harder on it, or even more on it, or get up tomorrow and do it again. Okay. So yeah, I want you to like unleash your inner villain. And if you need to give yourself like a villainy name, or you need to call it like Project Villain or whatever you want to call it, like, have fun. This is supposed to be fun. Yes, it is a sport. Yes, we are intense about it. Yes, we are passionate about it. But at the end of the day, it's supposed to be fun. And I want you to think about and lean into becoming unstoppable in the best way possible. Okay? So go get obsessed with something that makes you better or calmer or prouder by the end of this month or whatever time period you set. Okay. So I would love it if you shared with me what you're getting obsessed about. That would make me so happy. So please share, or share with others, or don't share with others. Keep your villain plan secret in your little cave until you're ready to out with them, whatever. But like, have a little fun with this. And, you know, maybe this will reignite your sense of planning or your desire to want to train again, right? Maybe this is just a little twist, a little spark that you needed for this month. Okay. Who knows? But whatever you're getting obsessed about this week, I hope you have a fantastic week with your dogs. Thanks so much for listening to the Mindset Coaching for Handlers podcast with me, Julie Bacon. I am so grateful for your precious time. Check out my Dogged Planner workbook and journal available on Amazon. Just search for Dogged Planner. I also offer monthly membership that's perfect for ongoing support of your awesome goals. Check out theqcoach.com for details, or just stop by and check out all the ways you can work on your mindset. And be sure to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at theqcoach and let me know how it's going. Finally, please share, subscribe, and leave a review. This helps us podcasters tremendously. Plus, I know I get my best podcast recommendations from friends. Thanks, and have a great week with your dogs.